Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, it's time for Charitable Georgia. Brought to you by Bees Charitable Pursuits and Resources. We put the fun in fundraising. For more information, go to beescharitablepursuits.com. That's BEES charitablepursuits.com. Now, here's your host, Brian Pruett.
Good, fabulous Friday. It's another fabulous Friday, and we've got two fabulous guests this morning. We were supposed to have three, but someone had an emergency that couldn't be here, so we'll bring him back on. So it's nice fall weather out there this morning, so looking forward to actually staying fall. So our first guest this morning, well, first of all, if this is your first time listening to Charitable Georgia, this is all about positive things happening in the community. And so we've got, as I mentioned, two fabulous guests. And our first guest this morning is Stephanie Diamond from Diamond Chick Consulting. Stephanie, thanks for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. First day of fall.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I like the name of your business, obviously, and with your name and stuff like that. But you and I sat down and talked, and you have a passion for helping people in many different ways. But what caught my attention was being a volunteer at Mostly Mutts for several years. You still do some of that right now.
Absolutely, yep.
So if you don't mind, just share a little bit of your background, then we'll talk about Diamond Chick Consulting.
All right. Well, just to give you a little bit of background, I do have two children that are both at KSU right now, and I'm super proud of them. They've been doing awesome.
Owls.
Yeah, go Owls. I'm a military brat. My dad was in the military, so we traveled all around when I was growing up. We grew up primarily in Greer, South Carolina. I moved to Atlanta in 1999 to get married, and then we started having children. And then I graduated from College of Charleston, was a theater major, went into the nonprofit world after college because theater is not where you make money, although nonprofit is not where you make money either. However, I used a lot of my skills that I learned from being in theater and arts management in the nonprofit world. So I worked for a community foundation for a few years and then had my children and then went back to work at a school for dyslexic children for 10 years. I worked in the admissions and outplacement department. And what a fulfilling job that was. I mean, I was able to talk to the parents who were just they had exhausted every resource, and I was able to provide comfort and solutions and resources. And that was a great position for me. Things change as we go down the road, and I needed to find something a little bit more lucrative because I was having to support my family on my own. So I went into the insurance world. Wow, what a sharp contrast. That was quite amazing. But what I realized is that the insurance world needed me because I brought humanity back into it, and I'm someone who is going to listen to what someone says and listen to what someone wants and really figure out what someone needs and not just put them in what I want them to be put in, which is what a lot of people do these days. So it's been nice to be able to bring my nonprofit attitude to a for-profit world. So
share a little bit about, a little more about the nonprofit. So the community theater stuff that you did, right? It was community theater?
It was a community foundation.
Right. Can you share about that?
Yep. So what I came in as the administrative assistant and, absolutely loved the job. I love the people I worked with. I loved the waking up every morning knowing I was doing something really good for the community. A lot of what we did was go into other nonprofits to make sure that they were doing all the things they were supposed to be doing and that the people creating the endowments and providing those donations, their money was going to the right places. So we did a lot of, I got to know a lot of the community. We had a lot of community events that brought in all kinds of people from different communities. And down in Charleston, South Carolina, it was a very interesting, eye-opening experience because there was a lot of people that I met that I never would have met if I'd not been in that role. So, and that's really what my passion is just meeting brand new people almost every day. I try to be as active and proactive in my networking and meeting people as I possibly can because you just never know what that person's going to bring to your world.
Right. And that's one thing I love about, you guys listening. If you don't know, that's what I do is community fundraising events. And that's what I love about the events is the fact that you do get to meet a lot of people that even going out and networking that you wouldn't meet because a lot of the folks don't either know about networking, how to network or scared to network or whatever. So it's great to have, and that can be a networking in itself. So,
right.
you currently still volunteer for Mostly Mutts?
I do. I started volunteering. So back in 21, when everything was so exciting and wonderful in this world, I needed a pick-me-up, and volunteering was the way I needed to do it. Because, like I said, I came from a nonprofit background, and I hadn't been able to do that since being having this role. So and I'm a huge animal lover, and I walk dogs every Monday morning from 8 to 10, and it is the best way to start a week. What a great way to just get myself out of bed and start with a positive attitude. And it's been incredible. And I'm having surgery on my knee next week. I'm having knee replacement. So I am having to step down from that role for about 2 months, but I'll be doing other things to compensate for that, because that organization needs help, and I love working with them, and I encourage other people to reach out to volunteer as well.
So you don't want the dogs walking you when you have your surgery.
Exactly. And I have had dogs walk me before. So
can you share a little bit about Mostly Mutts, where they're at, and other things they do?
So Mostly Mutts is a shelter in Kennesaw, Georgia. Oh, obviously, I guess we're all here. And it's off of Cherokee and Ben King Road. They rescue animals from the different humane societies, and really just remediate the animals, find homes for them. And the fostering program there it's unbelievable. There are more dogs in foster than there are at the shelter, which is amazing, because that's where animals are going to do better, when they're in foster. So, again, anytime I talk to anybody, I try to encourage them to somehow get involved in any way you can. But, the other program that Mostly Mutts just opened was their market, which is off of Bells Ferry in 92. And I'm going to tell you what, if you're a thrift shopper, that's the place to go. So I highly recommend. They take donations, and they sell the things that people are donating, and but it's all run by volunteers. So that's why it's so important for our community to pitch in.
Do you know when the hours might be for that? Are they open certain times?
They're open from, I believe, 10 to 4. I could be wrong, and I should have written that down. I apologize. Thursday through Saturday.
Okay.
The market is the shelter is open, obviously, year round. But you can go and check out our cute little animals. During the week, I believe it's from 10 to 3 when you can go and meet some new friends. And there's cats as well. It's not just dogs. And we had a goat, and I think we've had some fish. So
awesome.
It's Mostly Mutts.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. So let's talk a little bit about being involved in the community. You've already mentioned about being in Charleston and stuff, and you love being a part of the community. Why is it important to be part of the community? Because
we live in it. We want to know who we're living around. We want to know who's making decisions. We want to know how those decisions are affecting people. I have just dived. Is that did I use the right term?
Yeah.
Right. Tense into the community in Kennesaw. I'm going to tell you, I've lived there for 2 years, and that is an amazing community right there. They welcome, especially small businesses, with open arms. Ackworth the same way. Woodstock, this area out west of Atlanta has just been unbelievable. So, I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, you did.
I can go off on tangents. So
that's fine. Let's talk about the networking piece too, because we always talk about networking is really part of the community as well. But there's a lot of, there are some negatives to the networking, but mostly positive stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful as well. Can you share a positive testimonial for networking?
So can I share a little bit about my big networking?
Sure.
So I am heavily involved with the BNI. And I actually just became an area director with this region up here, which I'm super excited about.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I just finished up my year as president with my home chapter. And I'm going to tell you, it has been the view that I have seen all year, or that I've had all year. To be able to see a group, a room of small businesses work together so intentionally to help build each other and encourage each other and empower each other, even when we fall down and bump our knees. But to watch everybody pick everybody up has just been amazing. So networking, I think it has a connotation of you're looking for business. For me, I'm looking for personal relationships, not personal relationships, but cultivating business relationships personally, if you will. So I've been able to really to be able to see that from my view this past year has been so inspiring. And just to see how much has changed. I mean, our chapter we had, I mean, every group has its issues. So it's been great to just to see everybody pitch in and work together.
So you talk about BNI, and that's, for those who don't know, BNI is a closed networking group. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of other groups out there that are free and open networking, and there are some folks that have maybe misnomers or don't like the closed seats and anything like that. So can you maybe debunk anything about the closed networking?
So the closed networking to me is kind of where you go to learn how to network. I mean, it's a place where there are so many tools and so many resources that are available with a membership through an organization like this. You've got professional development, you've got podcasts, you've got presentations, you have. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine if you do it the right way, and I forgot what the question was because I had.
So it was maybe debunked.
Yeah. Yes. So if you are someone who's been in business for a long time, you've done all the professional development, you've created your book of business, that may not be the right place. Maybe it's really for people who want to improve, not who want to stay still or just earn business. It's for people who want to propel themselves into the next level. And I think that's what I have seen. And that's where, when people are excited about BNI, that's what they're talking about. It's how it took them from here to there. And sometimes you don't even see it until it's a year or two and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, look how far I've come. But when you can use the tools that you learn in that closed networking group to go out into the real world, it really just helps. It helps boost who you are, and it makes people wonder where you learned how to do all that.
So can you maybe explain for those listening who may not know the difference between a closed networking and an open networking group?
So closed networking is you've got a group of people who there's one person per industry in that room. And that is your referral partner. You are what you're doing in those rooms are building relationships so you know, like, and trust the people that they will represent you well and that you can represent them well. And you're really intentionally looking for work. You're learning, you're kind of a sales team for your members. Open networking is where you go out and you, again, talk about the people that you know in your chapter that could help people out there. So you go to networks and you're on the listen out for those trigger words that you've been trained to listen for by your referral partners. So it's referral partners versus networking. That's basically, that's really the short of it.
Would you also agree maybe that there are certain industries that the closed networking may not be as good for as versus some of the open networking? In my experience, I've found that some of the industries, especially some are even the smaller versus even small businesses, it's, to me, some of the closed groups may not be the right platform, whereas starting out in an open networking, and again, this is just my opinion, but starting out in an open networking group, and then you build in that way, then eventually you could go to a small, but would you agree with that there are some industries that may not be as a good networking or as a good platform? Do
you have an industry in mind that you're thinking of that may be?
Well, for instance, my industry, right? Even though I need sponsorships for events, some of the people may look at the upfront cost to join like a BNI group,
right,
to that and say, well, I don't have the money, and so it may not fit. But I'm just thinking there are, I don't know. I can't think. I don't know. There are, I just think some of the smaller industries that, I mean, obviously the service industries, the insurance, all of those, bankers, that could be a good platform for BNI. I just feel like there might be some others that are just very niche.
So I think one of the things that really stuck with me and why it worked well with me, it was because it was an investment. I mean, it's not cheap, but I'm putting in the time, the effort, and the money. I'm going to really take this seriously. I'm not going to, just kind of go to the meetings and be done with it. I'm going to do all the little things that they tell me to do. I'm going to take their advice. And I think that with businesses that are starting off that may not have that foundation, one, we have options. We have payment options. Two, that may just be the thing that gets you over that hump. And it may be the thing that gets you to that next level. I think when you are part of an organization like this and you've never done networking before, it's hard to go to those open networking events because it's hard to know how to, one, read the body language or jump into a conversation with someone that you don't know. If you're part of BNI, you're kind of, you're groomed to go into these and just to walk up and be able to start a conversation or get yourself involved with the conversation. I think there's more value going from BNI to open networking than the opposite, just because you're learning.
What about somebody who's strictly a B2C versus a B2B?
I think that it just depends on what you're wanting to get out of it. If you're wanting just business, if all you need is just business, then go to open networking. But if you're wanting professional development, if you're wanting to cultivate those relationships, BNI is where you go because it's a weekly meeting. There's accountability. There's a lot of, so yes.
And I would say too that even the open networking, it's still about establishing a relationship. Don't go in, like I mentioned before. When I first started, I wanted to go and hand every single business card, get every business card, try to sell everybody. And you don't want to do that. It's all about learning and building that relationship.
Well, and that's something that you learn in BNI.
Right.
And you learn how to strategically go and network. And you learn not to go in and hand out your card and sell to everybody. And then the more you do, the better you get at it, the more comfortable you, it's basically you're practicing. Open network to me is practicing what I've learned in BNI. So.
All right. So let's talk about Diamond Chick Consulting.
All right. Chick with a plan.
Yeah, there you go. So share about what you do. I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the insurance, but share about what you do, who you're working with.
So I was a captive agent. I've been an insurance agent for 5 years now. I was captive for about 3 of those years and realized I was turning away so much business because not everybody was qualified for the policies that I had. So I said, you know what? I got to get myself, I got appointed with all the main carriers and I'm doing ACA. I pretty much anything I could sign up for and get appointed with, I did, which is a good thing and also a bad thing. There's a lot of stuff I don't even know if I did. There's a lot of things in my toolbox I don't even know I have yet. But when I do, and that came to that because every conversation I have about insurance is different. There's never the same conversation. It's never a quote unquote lay down where it's just, you need insurance, done. It's not like car insurance. So what I bring to the table is I'm not selling insurance. I'm helping people purchase their insurance. And I really am focusing on small businesses who have been around for about 2 to 3 years, who have, maybe they've been in the corporate world for, their whole life. And then during the pandemic had to change everything up and they became their own bosses and they they might have purchased insurance for themselves and that kind of with their family and everything. But all of a sudden they've got a staff of people who they need benefits. They need something to keep their employees on staff. If you want to attain and retain good employees, you need to be able to give them something. And it can be very overwhelming for a business owner to start shopping for insurance. I mean, I don't know if you've ever shopped for insurance, but it's overwhelming and they do that on purpose. So I'm strictly working, or not strictly, I am really focusing on those businesses that need someone to give them that push to say, you need to do this. This is what I recommend. I'm recommending this because of this. It's not set in stone, just kind of calm their nerves and make sure that they understand that it's not the end of the world. And it is affordable. And, again, it's reinvesting in your business and in yourself and in your employees as well. So I try to bring that, humanity side back to insurance. But yeah.
So this is, we're talking about health insurance.
Health insurance. Yes.
You mentioned the word captive. You're a captive, you said, for a couple of years. Right. Can you explain what that is?
So a captive agent is someone who works just with one insurance company. So they can say that they can shop all the plans, but they really can't. They can look at them. Anybody can look at most insurance. Now, private insurance is a little different. Private insurance is great for those that are, actually people who live in prosperous areas who are not prosperous actually do very well with marketplace insurance. However, if you are if you're in a not so prosperous area and you're one of the more prosperous people, your insurance rates are going to be out the roof. So it's nice to know that there are options out there to bring that cost down. And, again, just alleviating that anxiety and letting people know it's not things can change. We can talk about this in 6 months, and I'm here to make sure that that you're covered. You know what you have, you know how to use it. And, if I see something that might be better, I'm going to recommend it for you as well. So, and
I think that's important because even when you talk about somebody that's in the property casualty type of insurance, a good example, when my parents and I moved here in 79, we had a guy that was with a particular agency and he passed away unexpectedly. And then we got a letter in the mail saying that he passed away and this is your new agent, but we'd never seen him. And that's been 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. So it's nice to know that there are people out there in health insurance, other insurance groups that, you can call and talk to, and then are proactive in helping, the clients as well.
And sometimes that's all people want is someone to talk to. When something has gone wrong with your insurance, whether it's your commercial, home and auto, health, whatever, it's usually a bad situation. So to have a touch point and someone who's going to pick up the phone and say, dang, I'm really sorry that happened. Let me help you out with this. I may not be able to adjust all the claims, but I can at least hold your hand and help you get to the next person that will be able to make those changes. So
if a business individual is listening, I'd like for you to give a couple pieces of nuggets, if you don't mind. So first of all, there are some people out there that think, well, and this may be true, I don't know, but it's cheaper for me not to have insurance and just go pay out of pocket. But can you maybe give a benefit of why you should carry insurance?
So I actually agree with that. I think that most of our health coverage, most of the health coverage people are worried about are your doctor visits. And that is not why you get insurance. You don't get insurance. For your car insurance, you don't get insurance so you can take it to get its oil changed or even the tires fixed or even a new air conditioner. You get it when there's something major. If you shop for health insurance in that same way, the money you save generally is astronomical because cash pay is king. Cash is always king.
Until it's gone.
Well, until it's gone. But if you don't have catastrophic is really where it's at. That's the kind of what you want is insurance so that if you go to the doctor and they find something, then you've got coverage. You don't go to the doctor having, your doctor visits free. They're not free. You're paying for them somewhere. Right. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
Right.
And you can't take advantage of the system. The system's too smart. So, what you can do is be smart and know how insurance should work. And it's funny how when I talk to some people who've never had insurance or haven't been insured for a while, they start asking a lot of questions like, what is it? Does it cover this? Does it cover that? Can I go here? I'm like, what have you been doing for the last 10 years? Let's think about this here. So it's, so that would be one of the things I would recommend. If there are a lot of advocacy groups out there now because of the state of our world and our society, and because the cost of insurance has gone up. A lot of people have just said, forget it. I'm not paying for it. I'd rather just, I'll go bankrupt, whatever. There are programs out there that will help those that have outstanding medical bills if something major does happen. So that would.
And I think what you brought up too about the catastrophic is important because people out there, well, I'm healthy. I don't go to the doctor that often. Nothing's promised. You're just 1 second away from something. So, and
as soon as you say I'm healthy, nothing's happened, you're going to walk out the door and something's going to happen.
Right.
So be careful what you say.
Right.
But no, it's I think that a lot of us are overinsured. And there are a lot of especially through Marketplace, those plans cover a lot of things that, especially men aren't even going to use half of it because a lot of it's maternity. So,
right.
Look at what your plans include and, again, work with a professional who knows how to look at things and compare and can explain it to you. If you're talking to someone who doesn't know the difference between the one or this or that's not the right person for you because that person's probably looking to put you on something that's lucrative for them, not for you.
So let's give advice to a business owner who you mentioned working with businesses and being able to provide that for their employees.
Yeah.
So first of all, what size as a business would be that you would work with?
So my ideal size would be between 3 and 7.
Okay. So for that business owner who has never carried an insurance for employees, right? What does that look like? Do they pay for the insurance, or do they walk through somebody who might be interested but say my business can't pay for that or whatever? What does that look like?
So there are several things we can do there. One, and I'll go ahead and just name one of the policies that I have is AFLAC. I mean, AFLAC is a great way to start offering benefits because it comes out of payroll. So as a business owner, you're not even seeing that expense because of the way that it's, all the taxes and stuff like that. So I would definitely recommend, if you're wanting to start there, AFLAC's a great way to start. If your staff or employees want to have additional insurance or coverage, you can offer a 50% split. You can offer 100% reimbursement. It's just really up to you what you as a business owner can afford and want to do. Now, the other thing is you can put them on a catastrophic plan. And if they want to add dental and vision or some other things, let that be an option to them. They can pay for it. But if a business owner can pay for the meat of the insurance, that's going to be, what a great way to show your employees that you care. And it saves your business too, because if something should happen to that employee, they've got coverage. I mean, it's like I said, you don't want to overinsure and you don't want to break the bank trying to give all these benefits, but you definitely want to make sure that your peeps are covered.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that you're covered as a business owner.
Right.
If you're not covered, if you're a business owner and you do not have insurance, we need to talk because big time we need to talk. That's usually the people that need to talk the most, but don't have time to talk.
Well, you talked about this earlier, that especially in today's society, a lot of it's chaos out there. People are scared about they don't know what to do. And so a lot of people just go without and thinking, well, that's just the way to go. And it's really, I don't think the right thing to do.
Well, and that's why I like doing business face to face or at least by Zoom, so people can see who they're talking to and they can understand that there's a conversation there, and it's not a quick transaction. It really isn't. And if it is, then you're not working with the right broker.
Right. So that's a good question. Where are you all licensed? Where can you help people?
So I am licensed in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, Ohio, and Michigan.
All right. Yeah. All right. So, a couple of things I'd like to ask you to give us some advice on. So you spent some time in the nonprofit world. Mm-hmm. If somebody's listening and thinking about starting a nonprofit, what advice would you give them?
Oh gosh. Start spreading the word. I mean, you got to make sure people know that you're out there. And that's a really good question. I wasn't expecting that one. I'm going to have to, I don't know how to answer that.
Well, think about it.
Make sure you have benefits.
There you go. All right. So if somebody's listening and thinking about starting their own business, because you've done this, give some advice to starting their own business.
Again, get yourself out there. You cannot start your own business by sitting behind a desk. You have to put in the hustle. I mean, and it is, if you don't like the hustle, then maybe starting your own business is not the right thing for you, because it is not a stationary job. And there's going to be ups and downs, and you're going to have to stay consistent. And I stay consistent. That has been the biggest lesson I've learned over the last few years. And I'm consistently inconsistent. That's been my thing. So I've had to really, really work on that piece. And it's been amazing to see the process work. So
the others have some backbone.
Yeah. Yes. Very thick skin.
Yes. All right. So I had another question for you, but then I forgot. So, is there anything coming up that you know of event-wise for either Mostly Mutts or anything that you've got going on that you want to share?
Yeah, there actually is. There's a concert happening in Ackworth on October the 8th. I think that's a Sunday. It's called Shebang. It's 4 different Nashville singers coming together to sing and play some music, and it is going to help support Mostly Mutts and 2 other rescue organizations around. So I highly recommend, and that's in Ackworth. And if you go to my website, www.diamondchickconsulting.com, there I've actually got links to a whole bunch of different stuff. Go to the Diamondverse tab, and I've got links to different things that I'm involved in, and mostly Mutts has a tab there as well.
Nice.
So,
well, I was going to ask you to share your website, but if somebody else wants, is that the best way for people to get a hold of you if they need your services?
Yep. They can schedule an appointment through there. They can, all my contact information is there as well. So I encourage you to visit, and, let me see how I can help you. I do offer policy reviews if you want someone just to take a look at your stuff, tell you what you have. I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to help you know what you have. And if you need to purchase something else, I can be that person. But I encourage people to know what they have before going to the doctor. There you go. Another little nugget.
I wish I could go to that concert, but that's the day my stepdaughter's getting married. So I guess I need to be at that. So
nice. Well, hopefully other people can.
Yeah.
Commitments.
Stephanie, thanks for coming and sharing. We're not done, so don't leave.
Sure,
Can't let you leave anyway, so the door's closed. So.
All right.
We're going to move over to Tommy Honrine from Ameris Bank. Tommy, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
So I got to tell you, first of all my networking days, I've known some commercial bankers to network, and those are very far in between, but I've never known a personal banker to network. And Tommy, that's where I met Tommy, is Ackworth Connections. And networking. And I also feel like Norm every time I walk into his branch because Brian,
absolutely,
so that's pretty awesome. So, we'll get to the more of the bank here in just a second, but you obviously have a passion for help, people, not only in with their banking needs and stuff like that, but you play a role in being a caretaker as well.
That's right.
Would you just mind sharing your background?
Yeah, my background. So I'm a Georgia native, born and raised in Georgia. Grew up in the Norcross, Peachtree Corners area. Went to school at Georgia Southern, and I've been in banking for, I guess, a little over 20 years now in one form or another. I started out with HSBC Bank in consumer lending. So we did, refinances, home equity lines, auto loans, personal loans. Did that until 2008 when the whole housing crisis hit. And then at that point went to work for Wachovia. And at that point got my Series 6, 63 life and variable licenses, became a financial specialist with Wachovia. That they merged with Wells Fargo, and then I ended up going to work for a community bank, which was the best decision I ever did. At that time, it was Fidelity Bank. Fidelity Bank merged with Ameris Bank in 2019. So I've been with Ameris for 11 years. But yeah, my dad was in mortgage banking. So kind of out of college, my first interview was with HSBC, who he retired from. And I kind of didn't know what I wanted to do. I majored in business management. He was like, I can get you an interview. So I just kind of went into banking and never got out. And like I said, going to work for Ameris and a community bank was really the best thing I ever did. It's just being able to learn about small businesses, help small businesses. I love it.
Well, so obviously you have to be a people person when you're in that industry as well. I mean, obviously it's like Stephanie, you got to be a people person. So,
yep.
I mentioned that you're a caretaker, so
yep.
You spend a lot of time also taking care of your girlfriend.
I do. Yep. I live, my girlfriend Evan, and I live with her and my dog Holly. But yeah, Evan, she perfectly healthy, and then 2019 she we didn't know what it was. It was, they thought it was spinal stenosis at first. It didn't present itself with symptoms of what she ultimately has is metastatic breast cancer with a really rare neurological disorder called paraneoplastic syndrome. So yeah, 2019 it kind of surfaced and almost started presenting itself in something kind of like Lou Gehrig's disease, like ALS. Started dropping things, stuff like that. Went to emergency room a couple times. They're like, "Oh, you're, it's probably just, everything's." I mean, I think they're just looking for a immediate, basically got the impression that they couldn't find anything. and her speech was impacted probably 4 or 5 months after she started having these symptoms. Then they thought it was something called spinal stenosis. Turned out not to be that, and she even ended up having a surgery that apparently she didn't need.
Oh no!
And but ultimately went to Emory, and they have a special diagnostic program, and they basically did every test. It's almost like the show House, if you've ever seen it. They basically, ran every test under the sun and basically found out it was metastatic breast cancer, and the paraneoplastic syndrome. Basically, the cancer cells, create an antibody that attacks your central nervous system. So it kind of allows her where she can't walk and doesn't have good use of her hands and affects her speech and stuff like that. But yeah, it's when something like that happens, you just dive in and, someone you love, you just take care of. And that's what I do. So yeah, her parents come and, take care of her during the day when I'm out at work. But then at night, as soon as I get home, I'm a caretaker.
Yeah. So, obviously it's in the name of your community bank.
Yeah.
And obviously what you just shared with your girlfriend and everything, but so why is it important for you to be part of the community?
I think, everything is part, the community. You see business owners every day that are trying to grow their business, that are trying to, get their name out there. They look to their bank to help them financially, to help their business grow. So I think it's important to be involved in the community with small businesses to help their businesses grow, and being involved in the community in other ways. For instance, in October and November, Ameris does a canned food drive every year called Help Fight Hunger, and every branch participates. So, stuff like that I think is really important to not only be involved in the community, helping small businesses grow, but also to help the community for other needs as well.
So, as I mentioned, I feel like Norm when I walk into your branch. Yeah. So is that typical for all Ameris banks?
It is. It is. We've kind of got a slogan, small enough to know you, but large enough to help you. Meaning that, like the bigger banks, we offer all the same services, whether it's online wires, positive pay, whatever services you'd find at a larger bank, we offer. But, we really, cherish our community bank background and want to know our customers, get out and see our customers when they come in, know their name, and that's important factor of our culture.
So another thing that I think is cool is I mentioned you go out with network, but you also take the time to actually, if you need to. They want to sign up with you, but they can't get to your branch, you'll go to them.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, share about that because you don't find typically bankers that will do that either.
Absolutely. Yeah. They kind of, as a branch manager role at Ameris, is kind of a little different than some other banks where you're in the branch 100% of the time. They kind of factor in being able to get out. They kind of want you to get out and, network, and also, if, like you said, if someone can't get to us, get out there, learn about their business. And any way we can, help you as a small business, that's what we want to do. And I love that aspect of it, just getting out and, whether it's a factory and touring it and seeing how they do business. But yeah, absolutely. I'll go out anywhere to meet with you if you can't come see me.
And he likes to eat too, so he'll go to lunch if you know that.
I'm a big eater.
So the other thing I think is cool too is not many bankers do this either is you'll give your personal cell phone. So, I when I first started my business and I got my first check and they're like, well, we're going to have to hold this because, and I'm like, what? And then I was like, but Tommy's like, well, just tell him to call me. Yeah. So we did. And it took care of it right there. So you don't find that either. So it's pretty awesome.
Absolutely.
You've also come and supported and played golf in a golf tournament for a fundraiser. So we appreciate that. So
absolutely.
I'd like to ask this on the banking side. So, some of the bigger banks, and I don't know if the other community banks are doing this as well, but some of the bigger banks are getting rid of tellers, right? It's becoming almost all virtual or self-serve and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or community banks, I hope, are not going to that extreme, are they?
No, I don't think I think that's part of our culture is having someone in the bank that can take care of you. And I see customers coming over all the time from a lot of credit unions or larger banks where, it's a virtual teller, or they don't have anyone to talk to when they come in the bank. So yeah, I mean, I don't see that ever happening with a community bank.
All right, that's good because it's a little scary when
it is.
I can remember this has been in several. I mean, we're talking early 2000s. I have a buddy of mine that stopped going to a bank and went to the first one that was, I guess, ever online. I'm like, why would you even do that? You can't see, you can't talk to anybody. Yeah. You don't even know if your money's going.
And if you deposit cash, I mean, it's
right.
Not easy, and you don't have anyone to advise you. I mean, I think that's really important. From the tellers to personal bankers to managers, you have someone in there that can tell you, can advise you, and you don't have that with strictly online banking.
All right. So for a small business owner and they're thinking about either not happy with their current bank or they need a bank, what all can you offer a small business for their banking needs?
Well, we have, on the personal side, we have a checking account with no monthly service fee or minimum balance requirement. Essentially on the business, we don't call it a free checking, but it is free. You get up to 200 transactions a month free, which, almost all businesses don't really exceed that. Even if you're a restaurant and you do, 500 transactions a day, you batch it out in one or two merchant service batches. So it's only one or two transactions. So, most businesses most banks, you have to keep a minimum balance. You have to, meet certain criteria to avoid a monthly service fee. We make it easier for you. Also, like you said, I think, just the personalized service, my good clients or, networking or anything, I give my cell phone to where they can reach out to me. Also, all the services that we can offer a small business, that a larger bank does, we have that too. Positive Pay, which helps to combat fraud, basically allows the business owner to, upload a file of checks they've written. And if we see something that comes across that isn't that check number or that amount, we reach out to the customer. We don't pay it or, reach out to the customer, and they have it on their end where they can decline it, if it's not on the list. Services like that, online wires, makes it easy for the customer. And typically our fees are lower than other banks. Lots of reasons to bank with Ameris on the business side. For attorneys, we actually have, a lot of attorneys have to have IOLTA accounts, which is like an escrow account where it kind of holds, it's really their client's money. We actually will, can use those balances to offset fees for attorneys, which most banks don't do. So we really, I think the fee structure, I think the personalized service, just like you said, being able to go into a bank and talk to somebody and get to know somebody and having them know you, I think that's really what we offer. Small business.
And I think even though some of the bigger banks that you could still walk in, but you're not going to get necessarily the branch manager to talk to you, right? And you're mostly always there.
Yeah.
And your door is always open unless
Absolutely.
you've got a meeting or something. So that's incredible too. You still have your great promotion with your credit card going on. Can you share about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's we have several different credit card products, but one of the most popular, it's on the personal or business side. So you can do it in your name personally, or you can do it in the name of the business. It's 0% for 15 months, and that's on not just balance transfers but purchases. So we see a lot of customers that they have a home improvement coming up, or they need to buy a new AC unit, or want to put in a sprinkler system, or whatever the case may be. 0% for 15 months on purchases. And you see that sometimes on balance transfers, but not purchases. So
right. And that's been huge for a small business for me as well, because I had to get some stuff and I've been able to do that. So it helps on the cash flow too.
Absolutely. Yep. Sure does.
So let's talk about the networking piece too, because obviously, like you said, we met at networking, you go to networking. What positive testimony can you share about networking?
I know the group that we're in, Ackworth Connections. I love it. I mean, and that's an open networking group, and it kind of goes back to what you said, Stephanie. Like I've been in closed-in networking groups, and I like them, like master networks and stuff like that. And you're right. I guess I've been in banking. I've been in retail banking as far as a branch manager for about 11 years. And when you first start networking, you're right. You're handing your card out to everybody and trying to sell And I think it's really, the testimonial I would have to our networking group is just building relationships, being there, I think, every week, meeting, new people, growing the relationships you have with existing business owners or anybody that's there. And that's been huge for me. I think, I know when I need a product or service, first thing I look to is people in my networking group to do that. And I think they do that with me. And I think, it builds a trust. And I've gotten so many contacts that have have grown to trust me and really, trust sending their clients or referrals over to me. So that's been huge.
The other thing I'll say too is, you also will let somebody know if certain product or service isn't best for them, because some of the people you go into and talk to even at a bank be like, you need all this, and then all they care is that you're there and the money's there, but you actually take the time to talk to them and make sure that you got the right thing.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So can you maybe give some advice, maybe personal and business wise, on banking, of what things do you need to look for? You mentioned some things already, but like even, fraud or whatever, what are some things that somebody needs to look for on a personal and business side, that can give some, I don't know, either peace of mind or just some, advice on somebody on the banking side?
Just like as it pertains to fraud or
anything. So, I mean, what's something that they need to, let's do the fraud thing first, but then maybe if you could say something about, about a particular service. I'm sure everybody's different on the services of what they need, but this is something that they might, for instance, like on insurance, not everybody needs, I don't know, what's something that not everybody needs on a health insurance side, but prescription coverage. There you go. But something on a bank side that, just kind of gives somebody I don't know where to begin type thing.
Okay. I would say, on the fraud piece, I think establishing, it kind of, believe it or not, kind of goes in hand. Establishing credit is huge, I think, on the banking side. So I think at an early age, one of my clients just came in, and I've known him for a long time, and he brought his 18-year-old grandson in to establish a credit card. And that's huge for a couple different reasons. It's going to help you throughout, when you buy a mortgage. They pull credit for everything, insurance, if you get a cell phone, anything. So I think establishing credit is huge, and that's something we can help you do. We have a college card where it's, most of the time they start you out with a credit line, small, so that you can help to establish credit, on a college credit card. Also, we have a secured card where it basically, you put your money down, to establish credit, basically you can do anywhere from like $300 to $5,000. Just say you did $300, it would pull that from your account, issue you a credit card for a $300 credit limit, and you're basically using your own money to establish credit. But tying that into fraud, for example, the biggest fraud, cases of fraud that we see are debit card fraud. Someone gets your debit card number either through a skimmer that's placed on an ATM somewhere, or a server at a restaurant gets your credit card information, or not to say that, obviously the majority of people are not like that, but we see cases like that all the time. So, you have fraud on your debit card. You come into the bank. What we're going to do is freeze the debit card, issue a new one. We'll file a dispute and you'll get your money back. Sometimes it's 3, 7, 10 days before you get your money back. What I would recommend is using a credit card for anything and paying it off every month. You do that, you don't pay any interest. Even if you don't do like the 0% for 15 months, find a good rewards credit card that pays rewards that you can use for cash back or, restaurant gift cards or whatever. But doing that, if your credit card becomes compromised, your cash flow is not affected. So, with a debit card, if someone has $150 in their account and someone got their debit card and there's 10 charges that brought them down to $1, they don't have any money for 3 to 10 days until that money's from the dispute is put back in their account. If they use a credit card and just really, it requires discipline just to pay it off every month. But if they do that, and the credit card's compromised, the credit card company or, the credit card division is going to dispute that just like we would, but you're not out the money in your checking account, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I think that's a big thing. And we see a lot of fraud now with checks stolen out of the mail. And that, when that happens, it's a little bit more difficult than a debit card because you have to close the account down, open a new account, order new checks. So I reckon in today's day and age, if you're a business, I recommend to do positive pay or limit the amount of checks that you're writing and sending in the mail. Anything you can do, like if you're paying vendors, anything you can do ACH, pay with a credit card. I would recommend that just to expose less exposure to your account number. Can you explain positive pay? Yeah. So positive pay, the business owner or office manager will basically upload. So it's through the business online banking, and they'll upload a file every day. And there's a cutoff time of checks they've written. And so when the next day, and also the bank, if the teller is presented with a check, say it's check number 501, and that's not on their list, the teller won't cash the check. Also the business owner can see from their end, what checks were presented and not pay those, have us not pay those checks. So it really protects your account, especially if you're a business that's writing checks, and you don't have any other options to pay other than, there's really no options for ACH or credit cards, and you're writing a lot of checks. It's positive pay is roughly about $100 a month, but for a business that writes a lot of checks, it's well worth it for sure. So I'm sure it's probably this day, the way everything's moving forward, that direct deposit's probably almost everywhere now, but is that something you would recommend having as well? Absolutely. Yeah. Direct deposit. I mean, it's, you're more than likely, if a company offers that and they write you a check, maybe they issue their checks on Friday and you got to go to the bank. A lot of times the direct deposit's available earlier. So yeah, I would definitely recommend direct deposit. So there's a couple things I wanted to just mention and ask a question about. So I'm kind of old school, but I always thought it was weird that to build credit up, you had to get credit cards and go in debt. Right. And then, so at one point in time, I had all my credit cards paid off and my credit card dropped because I was out of debt. Can you just talk about why other than you mentioned about for mortgages and stuff like that, somebody who's thinking about it and doesn't understand, why is that important to continue? I think that, like I said, you really, it requires a discipline to, I think it's, the credit reporting agencies, TransUnion, Experian, Equifax, they have certain criteria they're looking for, and there's certain things that will, damage your credit. And, some of those things are if you're over, 50% utilization so if you a total of all your credit card balances, is say $10,000 and you're over the $5,000 mark, that kind of starts to bring down your score. Then if you're over the 75%, the higher you go on the credit line utilization, it's going to kind of bring down your score. So you want to, ideally, the best thing for your credit is if you have a credit card and just, basically, discipline yourself to sort of correspond it with your checking account to where you're not spending more than you have, if you can help it, and just pay it off every month. So definitely wouldn't recommend going into debt. But to build your credit, just use it and pay it off. Some other things that can negatively impact your credit scores if you close accounts. So, if you keep them open, don't have the urge to use them, and because I have that available, I'm going to go buy a new TV or whatever. But to really budget and just pay it off every month. That way you're paying zero interest to the bank. You're building your credit, and that's how you get a good credit score.
I'm also in school of the fact that I don't like and don't have the Venmo and PayPal and Zelle and all that stuff. What are the advantages and maybe what are the disadvantages of having those attached to your accounts?
We don't see, we do see sometimes, fraud with those, applications. A lot of times it's people, convince someone to give them their online banking credentials, which you should never do to anybody. But the bank goes through Zelle. So but it's, I don't think there's, I guess I wouldn't say I recommend it or not recommend it. I think it's something in the digital age where everybody's going, paying through Venmo or Zelle or Cash App. But I just say be careful and, of scams and don't give your online banking credentials to anybody.
So working at a bank, and I'm sure this is just an opinion question or an answer for you. Do you see, because I think we're going this direction, but I hope we don't get there ultimately. Do you think we're going cashless?
I don't think so. I think there's certain businesses that we still, have businesses where cash is brought in every day, gas stations and, just a ton of businesses where we still receive cash every day. So, I can't say that, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, it's not a possibility, but I don't see it happening anytime soon.
Awesome. All right. So where all are Ameris Banks located?
So we are, on the retail banking side, we have around 170 branches or so. We're in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and South Carolina, primarily in Georgia and Florida. So when they merged with Fidelity Bank, Fidelity was in Georgia and Florida and headquartered out of Buckhead, and they moved their headquarters, Ameris, from Jacksonville to Buckhead once we merged. But we're all over the Atlanta area. Here in this area, we have 2 branches in Cartersville. We have a branch in Woodstock. My branch here in Ackworth. Marietta has, I think, 7 or 8 branches. Bells Ferry, Barrett Parkway, Canton Road, Old Piedmont area, East Cobb on Johnson's Ferry. So we're all in Powers Ferry, Marietta Square. So we're very strong presence in Cobb, and Bartow and of course Fulton and even south of Atlanta, we're all over.
So if somebody's traveling and they need to get cash out, how difficult is it if they're not somewhere where you guys aren't located, to use and get an ATM? There's a lot of fees for that. They could use any, our debit card with any other bank's ATM. And there is fees associated with that. Usually the other bank is going to charge you, anywhere from $2 to $4 probably. And then Ameris will charge you,
I think our fee is like $3. But we do have an account depending on your relationship with us, where if you have over 25,000 total, and that could be loan balances, combined with deposit balances. So if you had a HELOC with over 25,000, we have an account called an Advantage account, and that will not charge you fees on the Ameris side, and it will also pay the other bank's fees. So, if you go to a Wells Fargo charges you $4. It won't cost you anything to access your account anywhere.
All right. So if somebody's listening and wants to maybe visit Ameris Bank or even talk to you, how can people, first of all, find the bank, and then how can people get a hold of you? Just come in and see. My branch is located on 41 Cobb Parkway. It's across from the new racetrack gas station in Ackworth, just south of Cedar Crest Road. So just come in, see me, see my staff. My email is a good way to get a hold of me. It's Tommy.Honrine. That's TOMMY.HONRINE @amerisbank.com. Or call the branch, 678-905-2600. But yeah, either one of those options, come see us, check us out, and, love to help, businesses grow or on the personal side. You mentioned already the things you do with the cans, the foons and stuff like that. Is there anything else you got coming up that you want to share you guys are doing?
That's all I can think of. In October, we've got the canned food drive, and we also, you don't have to just, you could bring cans to any branch, but also if your business wants to participate, I'll bring a box out to your business so that you can, and then at the end of the canned food drive, come and pick it up.
Awesome.
So, that's the only thing that comes to mind that we have coming up.
You had something along the way where you gave people free hot dogs, anything like that coming up?
Yeah. We, from time to time we do that. We'll do either like a customer appreciation, kind of thing, and just, grill some hot dogs, and, that's one of my, hobbies is grilling and smoking meats and stuff. So it kind of lets me do that too. Sometimes we'll have like we also provide merchant services, credit card processing. We partner with a company, with Fiserv, and they sell the biggest products they sell are Clover machines, if you've ever seen those. So we'll have like a Clover demo day sometimes. We don't have one coming up. I probably should schedule one in the next few months, where business owners can come in and, look at the different, whether it's the Clover Go or, different, systems. And when we do that, we grill out hot dogs and stuff like that. So we're overdue for that. I need to set
I'd like to get
up.
hot dogs. So
absolutely.
Soon.
Absolutely.
All right, Tommy, thanks for sharing a little bit of your story
Absolutely.
and what you guys do. So what I like to do before we wrap this up, I've got one other thing I'd like to ask both of you. I'd like to end this on you guys sharing a positive quote, word, or nugget for something listening that today and the rest of 2023 and beyond with. So, Stephanie, what you got?
Oh, man. All right. You can't make everyone happy. You're not a taco.
Nice.
That's awesome.
There you go. All right, Tommy.
Man, I can't think of any other than, I never give up. I think that's, with everything you mentioned, everything going on with my girlfriend, and whether it's that or whether it's, new business that you're trying to, to help or whatever, I'd say never give up.
The other thing I like to do is the thank you is a lost art these days. So, Stephanie, thank you for what you're doing for the people and trying to assure them and get them the right coverage on their insurance, and also everything you do for the nonprofit world. And Tommy, thanks for what you do for the community as well as the business owners. Everybody out there listening, let's remember, let's be positive, let's be charitable,